This is the G Podcast with your host, Tommy B.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 250 of This is the G Podcast. Yes. Yes, I'm your host, Tommy B, man. Good to be back. And got a very special guest. Honored to have this guest on. And before we get rolling, I definitely want to play this so you can get the full vision of this creative's work. I want to make sure you see this. Here we go.
This poem is dedicated to all the artists in Atlanta, Killer Mike, and Andre 3000 specifically, everybody that was at the Grammys this year breaking records.
At Hartsfield, Jackson, where dreams take flight, beneath New Orleans moon glow, in the still of the night, whispers from Savannah, where legends hold and willows sway. Don't wave that white flag now, 'cause the South's got something to say.
After 3 Michigan foster homes, 1 adopted family, youth home facilities in my teens, countless weekend moms pretending to help, but too busy for 3 tear-folding science projects, or long division, only left the sunken place, the upside down, the couch cushion, long enough to see if the government had sent their gratitude in their mailbox. I decided to tie my lone red sack to the end of my walking stick, threw it over my right shoulder, headed backwards on that old railroad, and a few bridges I had to set ablaze. I was only comforted by rage. Teenage homelessness made me feel hopeless. The North was cold, and I chose to no longer feel inadequate. Won't no smelly cab pulling up on a mansion, more like 24 hours stuck next to the Greyhound bathroom. What a difference a day makes. Was met at the terminal with a notebook, composition, and was handed a microphone, because the South got something to say.
Yes, y'all. Y'all give it up for the one and only. Yes. Queen Sheba is in the building.
Thank you so much.
Oh, man. The album is Civil Rights, WRITES. The South got something to say, from the legendary Source Awards.
1995.
Yeah,
I think I was
remember
3
that.
years old. No, I'm just kidding.
I remember that well. And Queen, thank you so much, really, for taking the time. It's kind of partial holiday for a lot of folks. I really appreciate you jumping on with us and being a G. So you get the, yes.
Thank you. I appreciate you taking time out of your holiday. I know people are
you
resetting and getting ready for Monday.
You know, when Georgia Me got on with me and sent the link, I'm a big fan of spoken word. You'll find out as we do this interview.
Oh, okay, good.
But I don't know the names. And we're going to get into why the names aren't as I don't want to say notorious, but people don't know the names of their favorite spoken word people, but they see them and hear them and say, yeah, that's the one I like. So I don't know how to fix that. We'll get into that as well. But,
okay.
Before we find out more about you, you've got something very important today as we tape. It's January 2nd, okay?
That's right.
So January 3rd is a very important day for a lot of folks.
It is a big day. It is a big day.
I'm going to give it to you and
Okay.
have you explain why January 3rd is so important. Go ahead.
January 3rd is so important for so many reasons. However, one of the umbrella reasons is because that album, Civil Rights, is up for Grammy consideration in the spoken word poetry category for Best Album of the Year. So 4 years ago, actually, Jay Ivey and his team contacted the Recording Academy and was like, hey, spoken word is not this books on tape as cool, but we need to extract the people that are submitting for spoken word because they're recording artists, they're music artists, and they use music, they use singers, they might use hip hop, so we need our own category. And so he was able to create a category. And I have been honored to be nominated last year, 2024, and this year, 2025. So back to back. I am the first woman back to back, and I'm super excited because this is peer based. So that means that people listened to all of the submissions and they decided myself and 4 other people deserve to be Grammy nominated last year and this year. And I am very honored and humbled. I worked really hard on this project. Civil Rights was inspired by Andre 3000, was inspired by Killer Mike's album Michael that came out in 23 for the 24 awards.
Yep.
And since all of us are from Atlanta, when I was sitting in the theater last year for the Grammys, I ran out to the lobby to try to meet them. I don't know them. And I was like, oh my God, we're all from Atlanta. We should meet, right?
Yeah, big time.
Right. So I run out there, and of course they're not around. They're like, ushered off with their team somewhere. And that's just how I live my life. I just feel like we should all be friends. We're all artists. We should just hang out.
Absolutely.
And so it'd be really great to meet them both. I know several poets who, know them, but I have never had the opportunity or the honor to meet either one of them. But both of them really inspired the thought process around civil rights. The South got something to say, because originally, I'm from Detroit, as it talks about in that poem. I'm from the North, and I made my way south about 32 years ago. And I love the South, and that's where I learned mostly about my heritage, my lineage, civil rights, etc. I did not learn that while I was growing up in Detroit. But I left Detroit really young. I left at 15 years old, and I went to a youth home, as I talked about in that song there. I went to a youth home for 2 years, and then I came to Virginia, and I lived in Virginia from 1993 until 2005, so 12 years, and then I moved to Atlanta. And this is my 20th year coming up in Atlanta, so we on 32 years of being in the South, and I am so glad.
Oh, you're Southern. You can.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm so glad to be able to call this home, because this is where I belong, and I just think no. Don't do the Jada Pinkett with Jason's lyric. Oh yes, right, exactly. Well, I'm from the South, shouting, so I'm from Atlanta. They said I could say I'm from there after 20 years, and I'm almost 20 years now. I'm talking about so definitely.
Absolutely. Hey, first of all, let me say this, y'all. Get out and do the work. If you know somebody, influence, Grammy committee, whoever, January 3rd is the deadline, as she eloquently stated, make sure you get out. I'm gonna give it to you one more time.
Make sure to get out and vote. I cannot. So the rules are, and we got to follow the rules, because they can extract me immediately. Send me a little email, be like, "We saw you on this podcast." But, I know, right? But so the rules are, if you, since I'm a voting member, if you are a voting member, whoever's watching this, I cannot tell you who to vote for, but I can what is that word? Emphatically, that's the word I'm looking for. I can emphatically encourage you to check out the spoken word category and consider civil rights. The South got something to say when casting your vote, but I cannot tell you who to vote for. There are 5 of us in that category, and there are music buttons next to all of our albums. Please listen to them and consider civil rights. The South got something to say when deciding. But if you are not a voting member of the Recording Academy and you are an artist and would like to become a voting member of the Recording Academy, you can DM me on IG. I'll tell you what I need from you. I do not make the decisions, but I do have the ability to suggest artists to the decision-making committee, and I'm not limited to just the 2 a year that all the voting members are restricted to. The other way that people can help is they can do a review of the album, and you can do it past the 3rd, because I want people to listen to the album, win, lose, or draw this thing. So February 2nd, we got 30 days today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
30 days, you guys, 30 days. So the voting is over tomorrow, January 3rd. Ends tomorrow at midnight Eastern Standard Time. If you're not a voting member, the way that you can help is listen to the album, listen to a track, listen to some of the tracks, and collab with me on IG with your video review. And if you do a video review of my album and you have more than 1,000 followers, then I will send you a tour t-shirt with everybody's name on it. That includes myself, Malcolm Jamal Warner, Georgia Me, so many other people, Lania White, Triumph Reigns, D-Bots from Houston, Brenda Lynn, Carolyn Malachi, another Grammy Award winner, is on the album. There are so many just amazing superstar independent artists that are on this album. And if you don't know them, listen to the album and get to know them. Wolf, she's number 5 in the world for women poets. Kim Joyce, another woman producer out of Detroit, Michigan. I mean, and she lived in Atlanta for about 15, 16 years and then moved back to Detroit. So the South got something to say. And we
absolutely. One more time. I just got to, again, it's the category, y'all, that we're promoting here, January. But, of course, the podcast is going to be out there. It's evergreen. So,
Give thanks.
And if anything, it's important to promote the category. It's
Absolutely.
important that you guys are out here promoting spoken word.
Yeah, absolutely. With this being our third year, we need everybody that y'all been pushing CDs since when? And all these poetry, so now is the time that we're given this opportunity to sit at the big table at the largest award in the world for music. Mm-hmm. Let's take advantage of it. All those albums that you put out that were recorded in your living room and in your closet, that's fine. Just make sure they're of good quality and submit them. And you do not have to be a Recording Academy member to submit your work. Anybody can submit an album. Anybody can submit an album.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And you're, of course, Grammy nominated. You've been recognized by the city of Atlanta, the NAACP. You're an adjunct professor, as I can tell. You definitely have the energy of most professors. And Clark AU, Southern CAU, yep. And Southern New Hampshire University. I could go on, and you guys can check out the bio, and we'll get your website at the end of the show. But there's one thing that really stood out for me. That I know you have that superpower, and we have this in common. I did not tell you this. Okay. But you grew up in foster care, and I'm a foster as well. So from foster to adoptee, and how does that shape your work?
It gives me so many different perspectives. I was in 3 foster homes. I think I mentioned that in the poem, and then I was adopted. But even being adopted, I say only, but they were my formative years. So they molded me the most. My parents were hippies, very jeans and t-shirts. My mom had that part down the middle of her head, her family is from Germany. My father's family was from Poland. From Poland. So it was just, I wanted to know more about being Black, and they were very open to that. And we lived in Detroit, not in the suburbs. And so it was difficult and inspiring and a learning experience. I mean, we were all little kids. Little kids were making fun of me all the time about being biracial. They called me zebra, Oreo. Yeah, and so I have all these, childhood traumas that possibly could have, come over to my adult trauma for sure. But there are so many amazing adoptee, foster care children stories that are awesome. I got to speak. I am going to mess up the name of the college. It's in California. And they have like 7 schools under their community college, but the community college is huge. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna have to look it up and I'll give it to you. But they had me come and speak about being a foster child, and so many foster children grow up to be doctors, attorneys, lawyers. They're not all traumatic stories that, end in destruction. Some do, but the whole point is that the parents were mature enough to say, hey, I can't do this. I want this child to have a better life. And then, God handles the rest. So I believe, I believe that life is like choose your own adventure. Every day you're like, all right, am I going to be productive or am I going to blow off today? Yeah. And I think how that shapes my work is I struggle with that all the time. I struggle with, I'm very vulnerable when I talk about how I view life. Life has been very interesting to me. Every day I battle with, why should I even wake up? All the way to, come on, let's do it. Let's go. So there's always that, hey, we're going to die anyway. Why am I going out here running 5 miles? And then the other part is because you want good quality life. Yeah. You want a good quality of life. And that is what I try to exemplify and teach people and poets that are younger than me. Like, go do it all. Do everything. The world is changing right under you. You can go viral from an amazing poem and, travel the world. Take advantage of it. Go see everything. Go do everything.
It's important that you state your foster background, because there are a lot of folks out there who will never admit it, who have gone through it. And I think, because I tell you, most of my life I wouldn't admit it after after being adopted. But I think it's important because it gives positivity and hope to those folks who may be in the system who are struggling. They hear you say that, and it's it's motivation, if anything. So
I appreciate
good for you.
There are
I applaud you for doing that.
There are so many foster homes in Atlanta. And I remember when Kelly Love Jones lived in Atlanta, she was going around to foster homes and to child care centers and performing. And I went with her a few times, and it was just, it's astonishing how many children are in foster care in Georgia. It's like more than 100,000. And you think, oh, like, everybody's life is cool or whatever. When they, age out at 18 years old, if they were not in a good foster home or didn't have direction, that could be problematic. So I left, well, I didn't leave voluntarily, but I was put in a foster home at 15. So from 15 to 17, the time that I graduated high school, I was learning from watching older teens, and that's not how you should learn. You should learn from adults.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it was interesting. I had to make my way on the streets a tad bit. Whatever you could think of, it was a possibility, and I talk about it a lot in this album. So civil rights is me like coming of age and just saying, hey, this is who I am. This is my vulnerability. I'm not hiding around anything anymore. I talk about being neurodivergent. I talk about countless failed relationships because of the whole adoption, 3 foster homes. Oh, hey, we're not going to keep you, so you never expect anybody to stay. I talk about being estranged with my son and how heartbreaking that is. It's, it's kind of like 8 Mile. Like, you put it out there, nobody can use it against you. And it's empowering. It's empowering to know every day that you made it.
Well, I applaud you again for
I applaud you. Look at you coming out of foster care, being a.
Hey, I tell people, and I don't want to go into it because it's another episode for me. But I will tell you, I was fortunate. Compared, and I agree with you 100%. I mean, it really comes down to the adults.
Yes.
And having that communication with the adults and the adults wanting to be in your life. So I think that has a lot to do with it. But back to the album, I do want to ask you, when it comes down to your creative process and putting the album out there, and you do poetry slams and things like that. Of course, that's what poets do. Spoken word poets do. Competitively, when you're doing a project, how do you present, or how do you put it together so that it will resonate with the judges? You know what I mean? Because you're doing live most of the time. But when you go into the recording studio, how do you make it resonate with the judges, who may just be the people out there who might vote for a Grammy, who might
I want to make sure I'm understanding, because we talk about poetry slam and we're talking about recording.
No, I'm saying, like, when you go into record, like this new project, when you're live, you can kind of feed off the audience.
Oh, for sure.
But when you're in a recording studio and you're doing the project just like your current project, how do you make it resonate, that recorded project resonate? It's going to resonate with your audience.
I don't write for my audience.
Say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't write for my audience. I write my experiences and hope that someone listening, I hope it resonates with someone that's listening. But, like the saying goes, when you speak out loud, you're the first one to hear you. Right. And so when I'm recording, that process is like I'm standing in front of a live audience telling my story. And so this is why I'm so passionate about it. This is why I'm so convicted about it. This is why I want to get it across to you, just in case someone is suffering or in triumph or celebrating, that they can celebrate, be in triumph, or we can unpack why we're suffering and maybe help each other. But I definitely don't write for my audience. I don't sit down and think, what is the audience going to resonate with? No, I'm thinking, what am I going through? Or what do I know that's going on? Here's a very, 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 very current example. Last night, I was watching, it was New Year's Eve. I was watching, what's his name on The Voice, the country singer, married to Gwen Stefani.
Blake Shelton.
Blake.
Yeah.
He has a song. I believe it was him. Now, if it's the wrong artist, people in the comments, I'm sorry. Like, don't cancel me. But I believe it was Blake, because I love his work. And I think he has a song called This Is God's Country. I don't know if that's the name of it, but that was his refrain. That was his hook. This is God's country. And I was thinking about Trump. And I was like, because something is burning in me. That's what I call it. That's not a technical term. But when I feel like I was like, something's coming on. Like, I know I'm about to write about something. And I wanted to write about how I feel about him becoming president again. And when Blake was singing This Is God's Country, I was thinking, That's it. This is God's country, not your country. It's not your country to take over. So there it is, right? There's the beginning of my thought process. And of course, so part of that process for that particular poem is I'll probably go Google Blake's words, maybe quote him, maybe use his refrain, whatever, and get that to inspire that thought process. I did that with Meek Mill's Dreams and Nightmares. So I wrote a poetry version of Dreams and Nightmares too. Yeah. And I put that on last year's album. So that's, anything that's going on around me that's mostly social politics is what I write about, because we need someone to talk about it that we can relate to. And I hope to be that person that people relate their civil rights, RIGHTS, to, because I've always been super militant and revolutionary. So it just carries over into my work.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because as you look at us coming out of 2024 with toward the end of 2024, bitter taste in our mouth. A lot of folks are pretty much disengaged. They don't want to hear anything political. It's kind of like, I just want to go in my cave and hibernate until it's safe to come out again. From a poet as a poet, because poets are truth tellers.
Truth tellers. We're the ones
visionary,
the ones that speak for the voiceless, the voice of the voiceless. We speak for the community. We talk about what the community can't say in mass public, right? So this weekend, I have 2 shows in Philly and 1 in New York. That's the perfect time to, get out your angst and talk about, whatever. I have a poem that I wrote for Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, because I was like, the country wasn't ready for a Black woman president. And, I list all the reasons why. And I don't know. I don't feel safe with Donald Trump. I didn't feel safe the last time, and I don't feel safe now.
Well, how do you beginning? Okay, it's the beginning of a new year at this point. It's kind of a pivot, I would say. How do you write to encourage at this point? You know what I mean? To give people hope. Or do you even care about that?
Oh,
does it matter?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. So
because Queen Sheba, that there are folks out there who are like, look, I got so excited about this. You've seen the Black women, the cartoon with the Black women sitting on top of the building as the city burns, and that's on y'all. We've done what we don't do. Blah blah. Mm-hmm. So how do you write in this climate?
So that's an amazing and awesome question. So I have a brother friend. So he's not my real brother, but I've known him a long time. His name is Andrew Tyree. I want to give him his proper shout out. And he did a TikTok that went 3 million, 7 million viral. And all he did, I'm gonna say all, but he spoke from the heart. He was in his car, and it wasn't a fancy video at all. It was Wednesday, I think, after the election. And he started off and he was like, look, today is Wednesday. You got till Monday. And basically, and I don't want to mess up his TikTok, but you can go find it. It's pinned to his page, because it went all over the world, because the sentiment is we still got work to do. Mm-hmm. The election happened. Cool. It is what it is, but we can't give up. That doesn't mean lay down or hide or go in the closet and shut the door, because that means they really won. We don't want them to win. Whatever. Run your little bills in your office, because part of it is the atmosphere that 45/47 is creating in the country. This week there's already been a car bombing, a guy running into a guy with his truck, and that's all on the news. In New Orleans, exactly. And the car bombing was a shot at Trump and what's his bestie's name?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, right? With Tesla and X and right with the Cybertruck. And so I think everybody doesn't know what to do, but how I write in this climate is you have to hold on to hope, because you're holding on to yourself and your children and your immediate family members. Affect your small part of the world and give that hope, and that will trickle out to everybody else.
Yeah, good stuff. And we lost a great poet a couple of weeks ago. The final episode before the holidays, we lost Nikki Giovanni. And it's interesting you say this because we're talking about politics. I did a thing with Nikki. I think this is right around the Iraq War. And of course, W was in office, and we brought her down. You know, she had a new poetry project, and we brought her down to talk about the project. And it was in a mixed audience. She came in, and she spent 20 minutes slamming Bush. I mean, so you can imagine. You know, I mean, I was laughing. I mean, I thought it was great, but
because we're saying what people want to say.
Yes. I mean, I didn't, I guess I wasn't thinking about it. I was looking at it from, hey, come on in, promote your project. I mean, I love Nikki, and she's, you know, definitely will be missed. Her energy, you know, her spice, you know, but it was just amazing to me. Well, it wasn't amazing. It was funny, if anything, that she just lit him up. And it wasn't like a comment before she got into her book. It was like 20 minutes.
Is it recorded? I want to hear this.
I wish. You know what? I wish we had recorded it, but it was just amazing, and it was funny because though you know certain people who were Bush fans were getting up, walking out. The room was still full, but it was. And she didn't care. She said, "Okay, I'll see," and she was waving at people as they would get up and leave.
Yeah, I get. You invited me here to be me.
Yes.
Not to pander to you.
Yeah.
And man, let me tell you, I say that all the time. When I can be a little rough around the edges, and when I see people bring their children to poetry events after 8 and 9 o'clock, that's on you. And I'm not saying I go extra over the edge, but I'm me. Now, of course, if I'm in a library or I'm commissioned to do, you know, some work, the cursing I'll curb, but not the message. And speaking of which, that is the feedback that I got on last year's album that was nominated for a Grammy. They said, okay, this album is great. It's going to stay right here in the poetry world because it's too long. There's too much cursing and we can't play anything on the radio. And so the reason that the album My Civil Rights was inspired by Michael is because Killer Mike talked about rape, drugs, murder, the hood, growing up, his auntie on drugs, his mom and struggle and their relationship. But he was able to make it himself and still be palatable. And that is the lesson that I learned from the Grammys is still be yourself, tell your organic story, make the poems slightly shorter, bring in a singer so they can play it on the radio. The end. And you don't have to change who you are. The Recording Academy and this is a peer-based voting system. So if anybody who has heard the album Civil Rights listens to it and they're like, oh yeah, okay, boom, I understand this whole story and why this is important to poetry and spoken word and the South and the whole country, the whole world.
Gotcha. I want to talk about some of the artists you've worked with. One I know being Robert Glasper.
Yeah, he's so cool.
Yeah, he's you know really I throw around revolutionary, but he really revolutionized that category of jazz.
Yes, absolutely.
But you're on the F Your Feelings project.
Track 11, yep.
Right, track 11. How did that collaboration come about? And talk about some of the other collaborations you've had. I know you've got a ton of them because I was just looking at the current album. I'm looking at these names.
Good things. You know, long story short, organic friendship is how collaborations happen. I mean, I have my wish list of people that I would love to collaborate. I'd love to collaborate with her, H.E.R. I would love to collaborate with Kendrick Lamar. I would love to collaborate with Drake. I don't care what y'all say. I don't care. I like Drake. I would love to collaborate with Mary J. Blige, Jay-Z, of course, Beyonce, Glorilla. I would love to collaborate in the country category. I would love to collaborate with Rihanna. You know, so organic friendships is how that happened. I have been wanting to work with the Flow Assist for a long time, and we met a year ago, and so now we're friends, you know, and I had run across her a couple times that she didn't remember, of course, but once you become organically somebody's, you know, friend or, you know, y'all are cool in the same room, then that makes that conversation less Hollywood and really about the work. It's like, hey, you're dope. You know, I would love to work with Amanda Seales. I met her at the beginning of both of our poetry careers in Harlem, at Jimmy's Uptown in Harlem, when VH1 was taping for Poetry Night, and there was a competition. But we had seen each other several times, and she worked with Slim Thugger in Houston. And I was like, oh my God, this is great. A poet with an MC. This is an amazing idea. So long story short, organic friendship. However, I initially met Robert Glasper on the Capital City Jazz Cruise when Ingrid B out of Miami invited a bunch of poets to do a poetry night on the Capital City Jazz Cruise. And so he came and hung out at our poetry set. Just cause he wanted to. I don't think any of us had met him yet. He actually bought, my brand is called Poetry versus Hip Hop. He actually bought a Poetry versus Hip Hop t-shirt. I'll send you the picture. So you can splice it in here. But he bought a Poetry versus Hip Hop t-shirt, bought it, $25, wore it, took a picture with me, and we exchanged numbers. He's very personable, extremely down to earth. And I told him last year at the Grammys, I said, you inspire me because you are decorated with accolades and you are the coolest mug on the planet. And Absolutely. He was like, hey, cool. Yeah. So we connected, and he asked me to be part of that album. He actually asked me to be a part of an album before that, and I missed the deadline, and I thought I would never hear from him again. And then he hit me a year later and was like, look, I'm gonna give you another chance. I said, when do you need it? He was like, now. He said, use your phone. I was like, send. He was like, I got it.
Hey, when opportunity comes, you got to be ready for it.
Be ready. Be ready right now. Don't get ready. Don't be ready. Just be ready. Be ready.
So what do you say? Because there's so many poets or young poets out there looking to do what you do. What do you tell them?
The first thing that comes up for me is if they're asking me how to do what I'm doing, I can tell you how to do it, but then you have to go apply it. So I can tell you what I'm doing step by step, and it won't be some in general TED talk where I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I did. No, I will tell you step by step what to do. Then you have to apply it. The second thing I'm going to say is the younger poets, and I'm so glad I'm around them because they're teaching me how to manipulate and monopolize and monetize this internet game. It's them teaching me. So let's be very clear about that. And I also tell them, go further, go higher, jump farther, just be better, be more, and also share the information. If somebody comes across you organically, then share the information. What they do is not going to affect your life at all whatsoever. If you want to share your secret on how to go viral or how to write a viral poem, share the secret. It will not affect your life at all whatsoever. And the other thing I tell them is the only reason that you can't do what I'm doing is because you haven't tried. That's it.
I got you.
There's no formula. There's no age qualification. There's no gender, height, color, weight for spoken word. Do your best. Make a great project that you would be proud to share with the world if the world listened to it. Good. Now, if you make your project in your bedroom, in your closet, do that. I did, or do it at a studio. All Gold Everything was made off of a free beat. Umbrella was made off of a loop on GarageBand. People make amazing hit records all the time off of their laptop. Just make sure that it's mixed and mastered to the level of quality that if your favorite person in the world, or dead or alive, could hear it, you would be proud to share it. And that's it.
Yes. What are your hopes and dreams for your projects going into the future?
I am not gonna lie and say that I don't want to win. I want to win this year. For several reasons. The biggest reason right now is because the spoken word category is in a vulnerable state. And what I mean by that is all 5 of us in the category have equal amount of reason to win, but they're all different. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
So all 5 of us could possibly win for each their own different reason. What I will say is, and what I have been saying along this entire promotion is, if you're able to vote, please listen to all 5 albums. And again, I can't tell you who to vote for. Of course, I'm going to advocate for my own album. But if poetry this itself does not win this year, when do we get our category back?
Good point.
So it's only 3 years old. And the example that I try to give gently is that Beyonce decided to go from pop/hip hop into country. Fine. You can be whatever you want, whenever you want to be. You can decide right now, today, I'm going to be a spoken word artist and submit an album for the Recording Academy next year. We cannot determine when you decide. However, what veteran artists should consider is that this category was made for spoken word artists to represent and champion for spoken word and poetry. And so that's what I've been basing this entire situation on, is that I presented an album that I am proud to say is a spoken word poetry album. Yes, it has singing on it. Yes, it has music on it from beginning to end. Yes, it has guests on it. But this is not an R&B album. This is not a jazz album. This is not a country album. This is a spoken word poetry album. And if anybody was to hear it in the entire world, I would be proud to present it. I learned from the Grammys that, hey, you don't need to have all this cursing on here. Use your words, poet, right?
Yeah.
So I polished up my act. I leveled up my production. And I am proud to represent this hour and 6 minutes, these 10 tracks, and say, this is the best spoken word album of this cohort. And please consider civil rights. The South got something to say when considering who you want to represent spoken word for the next year.
Excellent. Good final plea. Good final plea.
Please, yeah.
There you go. Look, I do want to ask you one more thing about poetry. I grew up on Nikki Giovanni, Gwendolyn Brooks, Langston Hughes.
Mm-hmm.
Who did you grow up on, and who really opened your eyes to poetry?
Okay. So for poetry, County Cullen, Nikki Giovanni, Sonia Sanchez, all the gangsters, right?
Yeah,
Erica Badu,
yeah.
even. You know what I mean? Because
I remember Sonia Sanchez coming on with Most Def.
Yes.
Back in the day, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
of course, right?
Yeah.
And so I like edgy work. I like work that's gonna push you. James Baldwin, just people that are gonna be like, oh ho ho, what did you say? Amir Baraka, Ras Baraka. I had the opportunity to go to Furious Flower in Virginia, and I didn't even realize what I was walking into. I was like, whoa. I was like, Amir Baraka is here. Like, Elaine Brown, she's the author, not necessarily a poet, but, she wrote a few poems. Those are the people that inspired me to be a very edgy, say what you want to say woman. Mm-hmm. And the people that introduced me to spoken word and slam poetry are Talam Acey, Lamar Hill, Mo Brown, Bridget Gray. I haven't talked to Bridget Gray in a long time. Shehan Van Cleef from LA. Liz Straight from Florida, one of my favorite. Amir Suleiman, Malik Salam. And that collection and Georgia Mee with her women's empowerment, right? So all these people, I could go on, Emerald Green, Teresa the Songbird, Jessica Care Moore. We're both from Detroit, light skinned, angry. You know what I mean? We both moved to Atlanta, both trying to figure out our life, both trying to figure out our way between, me, men and women, and her, trying to figure out her life relationship. I remember us talking about, like, why can't we be ambitious, successful women and be married. Like, what's the problem? Like, what's happening, right? So just every woman that has children, every woman that has adversaries at them for no reason, even at work, at school, or at home, people that go through anything. So these women and men just opened up my eyes to be able to tell vulnerable, powerful, detailed stories. And I pride myself on being able to see what I'm saying and then share that with all of you.
Okay. How can people connect with you? What's a good way to put it?
You can't, because I'm neurodivergent. I don't like people touching me. But but no, you can connect with me on all social media is the Queen Sheba. You can find me. Right now, y'all, I'm in Facebook prison. I don't know how long this is gonna last, but I have learned.
Hey, don't get me started on Facebook.
I have learned to live without it for the last few weeks. And Meta is, y'all should watch The Circle on Netflix. Did you see that?
Yes, I have.
That is Meta all day long. Y'all watch The Circle. I don't get any kickbacks. I am not in the movie. Just when I saw it, my mouth was just like, oh my God, through the whole movie. It's definitely Meta. Yeah. But yeah, so on all social media is the Queen Sheba. I use Instagram every day, like text message. Again, if you are an artist of any genre, however, specifically for poets, and you're interested in becoming a voting member of the Recording Academy, please DM me on IG, the Queen Sheba, and I would love to tell you how to go about that. Now, I'll answer anybody's questions in my DM unless you're following me, because I'm going to give you something, and all I ask in return is that you hit that follow button. That's all I ask. I don't want you to do anything. I don't want you to pay me. Nothing like that. The information is free. Just hit follow.
Absolutely.
Just hit follow. So thank you.
I just got to say, love your energy, continued success, and I like the way, because I do believe, and Georgia and me we were both having this conversation, that because she, Georgia and me, I'm having the conversation. I said, I really love spoken word. She said, well, name a few.
Exactly. Who do you love?
And my point is, it's important for you to be out there promoting these names the same way rappers promote themselves. But
Absolutely.
She reminded me that poets don't like to self-promote. They don't really, they're more about their work and their art. I said, but
I am the queen of self-promotion. People make fun of me all the time. This is what I tell people. I learned this from a rock band that I worked with a couple albums ago. The album is Domino Effect with an A.
Okay.
My son helped me create that title, but that's another story. But anyway, so it was Domino Effect, and it was this rock band that produced the whole album. Shout out to Nick Chihuahua. He's still in Atlanta doing amazing things. So anyway, he told me his price for his band to come out. And he said, if you can't deliver that based on your asking price, why should people hire you? So I tell artists all the time, the 3 F's, friends, fans, and family. If you don't tell them where you're going to be 1,000 times, why would they come and see you? How are they going to know how to support you? Friends, family, fans. The 3 F's, that is your foundation to your artist life. Make organic connections, organic friendships, and always take the high road, even if you have to pinch yourself under your shirt or something.
Good point.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. Yeah, y'all give it up, man, for the one and only Queen Sheba.
Thank you. I can just imagine people like.
That's what I'm saying. and I was watching a Luther. Never Too Much is on CNN and debuted last night. Well, as we tape on the 1st New Year's Day, and it took him nine shots before he actually won a Grammy, which is amazing for an artist like Luther. But I know I could feel you're gonna be getting yours soon. So
give thanks. Yeah. Inshallah, God only knows. You heard Jay-Z's speech last year. He was like, hey, But, I don't know if I believe in any system. I know there's always loopholes, backdoors, and AI. However, I just pray that the stars are in my favor and that God has my favor, and that's all I can go on.
Absolutely. All the best to you again. The people in the background, y'all making that noise.
wish me luck on February 2nd, y'all. Please watch. I think it's the 67 Grammy Awards. It will be, of course, online, and it starts 12:30 LA time, so 3:30, and then, of course, you know, the telecast that everybody sees at 8 p.m. So please watch the spoken word category. I don't know what's going to happen. Voting ends tomorrow, so we have a month to kind of all get nervous and get prepared to go out to LA for a week. And I have some really exciting news coming up, but I can't reveal it just yet. But please join my community on social media, especially IG and TikTok, The Queen Sheba, and you'll find out about it.
Be a friend of the show too. You know, come back. Don't be a stranger. Don't win the Grammy.
This was great. I felt so comfortable.
Don't win the Grammy.
Like who? New Grammy. Who this? New Grammy. Who this? You know? No. The first thing that I'm gonna do when I
sell me out. No.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I'm gonna do when I win, we gonna speak it into existence. Yeah. First thing I'm gonna do, one is of course thank everybody and their mama on a very longer video than the Grammys will allow. They only allow us 45 seconds, right? So I've been keeping note of everybody that's had me in media.
And the money people at the Grammys first. Yeah,
you know, they're like, you know, you got 45 seconds, go. You're like, you know, so but the second thing I'm going to do is go to Clark when I get back to Atlanta and say, let's take a picture with the English department and my boss. And then I'm going to send it to Southern New Hampshire and be like, this is who you got on your campus working, you know, for and with you. And then I'm going to share it with my students and every poet that wants to do what we're doing in this spoken word category. I'm going to tell you how to do it. And then it's going to be up to you. And after that, I'm going on vacation for a week. I'm turning my phone off. It's going to be a wrap. It's going to be a wrap.
As you should. Yeah. And we'd love your thoughts. Castropolis.net, our website's down, but we definitely have all of our QR. As you watch this episode, the QR code is actually there for you to scan. So just scan that. All the links are there. Definitely love your thoughts. You can leave a message on the People poll, and we'll play back the best, y'all. And I will definitely play back the best when we return on January 11th. Don't forget, we're doing the 25 for 2025. It's happening until I guess maybe around June this year, but you can do $25 $25 in 2025 to support the podcast. That's how we make it through. And again, don't forget the QR.
Okay, I want to donate. Is it $25 a month, a week, a year?
You know, just one shot. It's on the QR code. Just scan that QR code.
Let's go.
And we are now on Blue Sky. You got to get on Blue Sky too. Get away if you're on X. It's the alternative to X and X/Twitter. On Blue Sky, they got. I mean, really good. I mean, definitely. I think you'll enjoy it. Okay. And again, the full cast, our cast of Scoundrels, we return on January 11th. We'll be back here doing it. And again, I just got to give you the crowd one more time, man. It's just been enjoyable. You know, it really has been Queen Sheba. And I got to shout out Georgia Me as well for helping to set this up, as well as Michelle. For helping to set this up. Thank you again. Be safe.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. My friend Charlie wants to say bye. Come on up, Charlie.
Come on, Charlie.
Come on. Okay, we're black, Charlie. We don't kiss in the mouth. What are we doing? Say hi.
Thank you, Charlie. Oh, he heard me. Yeah. Is it she? Is it he or she?
She. Her name is Charlie. I'm a girl like a Trap Called Quest.
I get you.
Yeah, she is 70 pounds. She's only leaning on me, y'all. Yeah. She's a big girl, but definitely not vicious. So if y'all see us in the street, come and say hi.
Exactly. Thank you again, Queen Sheba. We appreciate it, y'all. And with that, again, all the links and all the social media that she's mentioned will be on the in the podcast notes. Thank you again. Episode 250 is in the can. Peace. Power to the people, y'all. Have a good
Power
week.
To the people.
You've been listening to This is the G Podcast. And This is the G Podcast is a production of the Castropolis Podcast Network. Thanks for listening.